Cooper Glover, 1972, back with another installment of my entire DVD and Blu-ray collection. As I said in the previous episode where we covered Showa, I was going to do this particular part with Russian directors. So I've got two Russian directors. I've got Eisenstein and I've got Tarkovsky. So I'm going to show you those. And anyways, let's get to it. So first off, we have Battleship Potemkin, which is regarded as arguably the greatest silent movie ever made. One of the greatest 10 movies ever made. I'm not sure if, I'm sure some people on YouTube are aware of Battleship Potemkin. I'm going to read this. Odessa, 1905. Enraged with the deplorable conditions on board the armored cruiser Potemkin, the ship's loyal crew contemplates the unthinkable, mutiny. Seizing control of the Potemkin and raising the red flag of revolution, the sailors' revolt becomes the rallying point for a Russian populace ground under the boot heels of the Tsar's Cossacks. When ruthless white Russian cavalry arrives to crush the rebellion on the sandstone Odessa steps, the most famous and most quoted film sequence in cinema history is born. For 8 decades, Sergei Eisenstein's 1925 masterpiece has remained the most influential silent film of all time. Yet each successive generation has seen Battleship Potemkin subjected to censorship and recutting, its unforgettable power diluted in unauthorized public domain editions from dubious sources. Until now, Kino is proud to join the Deutsche Kinemathek in association with Russia's Guskino Film, the British Film Institute, Bundesfilm Archive Berlin, and the Munich Film Museum in presenting this all-new restoration of Battleship Potemkin. Dozens of missing shots have been replaced, and all 146 title cards restored to Eisenstein's specifications. Edmund Miesel's definitive 1926 score, magnificently rendered by the 55-piece Deutsche Film Orchestra and 5.1 stereo surround, returns Eisenstein's masterwork to a form as close to its creator's bold vision as has been seen since the film's triumphant 1925 Moscow premiere. So, anyways, in the special features, it's got Tracing Battleship Potemkin, a 42-minute documentary on the making and restoration of the film, the restored film with newly translated English intertitles, the restored film with original Russian intertitles and optional English subtitles, the original 1926 Edmund Miesel's score performed by the Deutsche Film Orchestra, presented in 5.1 stereo surround, and a photo gallery. So right there you have the Cossacks firing the guns on the steps, and then this woman right here is one of the shots in that particular sequence. And if you haven't seen this, you should definitely give this a look. Anyways, let's take a look. The discs just say Battleship Potemkin. They don't have any pictures on them or anything, but there are pictures on behind. There's a picture there, and and when I first saw this, I saw this with a score by Shostakovich. I believe it was one of his symphonies, maybe Symphony Number 5, I believe. And I really haven't watched this version, but I remember liking the Shostakovich score a lot. I don't know though if the Shostakovich score was specifically designed for this film. That I don't know. Then you have this right there. Film notes. There you have Eisenstein himself. And maybe that's Edward Teese there, the cinematographer. So, if you want to watch this film, take a look at it, and you don't want to buy the film necessarily, you can watch this film probably on YouTube. It's in the public domain, I would say. And then you can make a conclusion there whether or not you want to buy the movie on Blu-ray or DVD. Another film Eisenstein made. I haven't watched this. I bought this at the Jacob Burns Film Center. When I was there at the particular time that I bought this, I saw this musical group named the Alley Orchestra. There are 3 musicians, and they did a innovative score for Metropolis. So they were selling other films that they've done scores to, and they did one for Sergei Eisenstein's Strike. This one I think came out before Potemkin. I'm not sure. Maybe they came out the same year, 1925, that says. And this is 1925 as well. I'll read this to you. Eisenstein's Strike, with Orson Welles' Citizen Kane, marks the most remarkable cinematic debut in history. Triggered by the suicide of a worker unjustly accused of theft, a strike is called by the laborers of a Moscow factory. The managers, owner, and the Tsar's government dispatch infiltrators in an attempt to break the workers' unity. Unsuccessful, they hire the police, and in the film's most harrowing and powerful sequences, the unarmed strikers are slaughtered in a brutal confrontation. The story, divided into 6 parts, was influenced by the amazing theatrical inventions of Lesvod Meyerhold. Eisenstein experimented with the use of montage, parallel editing, expanded time, and the intercutting of symbolic images, the beginnings of the techniques that would change the look of cinema. To many, Eisenstein's first film, like Welles, would remain his greatest work, surpassing even Potemkin in its power and sheer brilliance. I'll read about the edition as well. A note on this edition. This DVD edition of Strike is digitally mastered at 18 frames per second from a mint-condition 35mm print made directly from the original camera negative. New English subtitles were added in 1999 below the original Russian titles. New music composed and performed by the Alley Orchestra in 1998 is synchronized from a digital stereo studio recording performed to this video transfer. This DVD also contains a new and illuminating audio commentary by Yuri Tizvan, professor at the University of Chicago and one of the world's leading scholars of Russian and Soviet cinema. So I haven't watched this. My friend had watched this. I think he watched his copy. So at some point I'll try and watch that. Next, we have a film that he did when he was in Mexico. I think it's unfinished, but it says restored masterwork here. And it's released by Kino, like Potemkin. And Kino is an interesting company because, like I said in a video a little while back, I said that Kino is sort of like Criterion. They restore films, and they have special features, and they I think the artwork they work on too. But anyways, this is Quo Viva Mexico. I guess I'll read this. Having revolutionized film editing through such masterworks of montage as Potemkin and Strike, Soviet director Sergei Eisenstein emigrated west in hopes of testing the capabilities of the American film industry. Quickly ostracized from Hollywood, Eisenstein, Grigory Alexandrov, and photographer Edward Teese, at the urging of author Upton Sinclair, wandered south of the border where they began filming a highly stylized documentary on the people and volatile social climate of Mexico. Unfortunately, a lack of funds prohibited the film's completion, and the famed director was unable to edit the film. In 1979, by referring to Eisenstein's extensive notes and sketches, Alexandrov assembled the most definitive version of the film, as close to Eisenstein's vision as one is ever likely to come. A blend of the ethnographic, the political, the scenic, and the surreal. Quo Viva Mexico is nothing short of brilliant and remains superior to the legion of films it strongly influenced. Wells' It's All True, Jodorowsky's El Topo, and the works of Sergio Leone, with sequences devoted to the Edenic land of Telopococ, the savage majesty of the bullfight, the struggles of the noble peon, and the hypnotic imagery of the Day of the Dead. Quo Viva Mexico is a vivid tapestry of Mexican life, which, thanks to Alexandrov's careful restoration, takes its rightful place alongside Eisenstein's other legendary works. Also included on this DVD are Romance Sentimental 1930 and an attempt to apply Soviet montage theories to sound, visual editing, and an amazing rediscovery, Misery and Fortune of Women, 1929. Intended to encourage legal and sanitary birth, abortion clinics in Europe, this remarkable film is also a stunning dramatization of the plight of working-class women, displaying all the earmarks of Soviet montage and the distinctive genius of Sergei Eisenstein. And you got special features. You got Romance Sentimental, Eisenstein's first sound film. This experimental 1930 short is a dazzling symphony of images and sounds made in collaboration with Alexandrov and Teese. Oh, I'm sorry, I repeated that. It's the same thing. But, yeah. And I have a few books. Eisenstein was a filmmaker that also wrote books. Like Truffaut wrote a book where he interviewed Hitchcock. I have a copy of that, and I have some copies of some of the books that Eisenstein wrote. Eisenstein wrote a few books about film. One was called Film Form. The other one was called Film Sense, and I think they're taught in film schools. There's another book not written by Eisenstein. It's called Film Technique. I have that book. It also comes with another book attached to it. I think it's called Film Acting, maybe. Anyways, Film Technique is my favorite director, Stanley Kubrick, says that if you want to make movies, you should read Film Technique by Vladislav Badovkin. And he was a contemporary of Eisenstein's during the early years of Soviet cinema. And then to finish off Eisenstein, we have Eisenstein, The Sound Years. I have Alexander Nevsky and Ivan the Terrible, parts 1 and 2. So there's Ivan the Terrible. There's Alexander Nevsky. And this is a nice box set. I haven't, gone all through it, but I've done some of it. Let's see, what should I read here? Sergei Eisenstein, long regarded as a pioneer of film art, changed cinematic strategies halfway through his career. Upon returning from Hollywood and Mexico in the late 1930s, he left behind the densely edited style celebrated silence like Battleship Potemkin in October, turning instead to historical sources. contradictory audiovisuals, and theatrical sets for his grandiose yet subversive sound era work. This trio of rousing action epics reveals a deeply unsettling portrait of the Soviet Union under Stalin and provided battle scene blueprints for filmmaking giants from Laurence Olivier and Henry V to Akira Kurosawa and Seven Samurai. So you got these gorgeous new digital transfers, all with restored image and sound. Audio essay on Alexander Nevsky by film scholar David Bordwell. Multimedia essays on Eisenstein's collaboration with composer Sergei Prokofiev. The history of Ivan the Terrible and Eisenstein's visual vocabulary. A reconstruction of Eisenstein's unfinished film Bazin Meadow, plus rare photos and documents on the set. Deleted scenes from Ivan the Terrible, drawings and production stills, and new English subtitle translations. Bazin Meadow is kind of interesting. It's probably heavily edited by the Soviet government at the time it came out. So it's kind of incomplete and chopped up. And I have watched that. To some tidbits or some information, anecdotes, what have you. This film, well, let me just read this. Eisenstein drew on history, Russian folk narratives, and the techniques of Walt Disney to create this broadly painted epic of Russian resilience. This story of Teutonic knights vanquished by Prince Alexander Nevsky's tactical brilliance resonated deeply with the Soviet Union concerned with the rise of Nazi Germany, widely imitated, most notably by Laurence Olivier's Battle of Agincourt, recreation for Henry V. The Battle on the Ice scene remains one of the most famous audiovisual experiments in film history, perfectly blending action with the rousing score of Sergei Prokofiev. So, when this was made, I think Eisenstein asked Stalin, could he invest in a more state-of-the-art sound equipment, and Stalin's answer was basically, no way, you're using this, and it was kind of an inferior use of sound. So when you listen to this, the sound is not that great, and of course the sound is at that time period in the 1930s, 1938, I think it says here. At that time period, obviously the sound's it's not going to be like today, but I think they had better technology, and Stalin was just, I think it was called like Stalin Sound. Well, it wasn't called Stalin Sound, but it was something related to how Stalin wanted it, and maybe his name was in it or something. I don't know, but anyways, he basically called the shots, if you will, on the sound. And this film also wasn't released after it was made. It was released to the Russian people at a certain point. During World War II, Hitler and Stalin, I think they were both bent on attacking each other, and so one of the things that happened before they fought each other in World War II was they invaded Poland on each side, and they split Poland in half. But when Hitler's army went through the Soviet part of Poland, then this film was released to the Soviet public, sort of like a propaganda item, and to stir up the Soviet people into fighting the Nazis. Next up, we have Eisenstein's last group of movies. It's supposed to be a 3-part series, but he only made parts 1 and 2, and that's Ivan the Terrible. And I think it's in reference to Stalin. I think Stalin anything, at that time period when Stalin was around, obviously you had to have your film's approved by the Communist Party. Otherwise, you weren't going to get them shown. And I think Stalin sort of wanted to make this film as a reference to to Ivan the Terrible, sort of as a representation of himself. Anyways, let me read the back. Navigating the deadly waters of Stalinist politics, Eisenstein was able to film 2 parts of his planned trilogy about the troubled 16th century Tsar who united Russia. Visually stunning and powerfully acted, Ivan the Terrible charts the rise to power and descent into terror of this veritable dictator. Though pleased with the first installment, Stalin detected the portrait in the second film, with its summary executions and secret police, and promptly banned it. Criterion is proud to present Ivan the Terrible, Parts 1 and 2, in new digital transfers with extensive image and sound restoration. So, like, one of the things you'll see in this film is you will see eyes painted on the walls, and I think that's a reference to something like the secret police, people, the Russian government spying on the public, so that if you spoke out against a person like Stalin, he would know that people were hatching plans on him. The second part also has a scene where it's in color. But it's kind of a dense movie, Ivan's Terrible Parts 1 and 2. I don't know if I've watched the whole thing, and it's long, so it's dense. It was done under the when Stalin was around, so it sort of had to go a certain way. He couldn't. It sort of had to be. I think it sort of had to be propaganda-like. But it's an interesting film. Anyways, that's Eisenstein the Sound Years for you. So next up, we go to another director, Andrei Tarkovsky. I have 3 of his movies. We'll start off with his first feature. I like this film a lot. It's probably one of my favorite films of all time, Ivan's Childhood. So I'll read this. The great Andrei Tarkovsky's debut feature, Ivan's Childhood, is an evocative poetic journey through the shadows and shards of a boy's war-torn youth, moving back and forth between the traumatic realities of World War II and serene moments of family life before the conflict began. Tarkovsky's film remains one of the most jarring and unforgettable depictions of the impact of violence on children in wartime. It's got a video appreciation of director Andrei Tarkovsky and Ivan's Childhood, featuring Vida T. Johnson, co-author of the films of Andrei Tarkovsky, A Visual Fugue. New video interviews with actor Nikolai Berliev and cinematographer Vadim Yusov. And I think he's the guy that he's the boy that played. He's the man who played the boy Ivan. Plus a booklet featuring an essay by film scholar Dina Tordanova and new translations by Robert Bird of Between Two Films, Tarkovsky's essay about Ivan's childhood, and Ivan's Willow, a poem by the director's father, Arseny Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky, I think he wrote a book called Sculpting in Time, sort of like Eisenstein writing his books. But this is a great film. The way he uses sound is very unique. It's not like most of Tarkovsky's films. Tarkovsky was sort of, maybe he was the first type of director to shoot really long takes. And what I mean by that, is he would shoot one shot for like 7 minutes, no cuts. He might pan, but he wouldn't cut the shot. In Ivan's Childhood, I don't really think he goes into it that much. Maybe he's just trying to find his feet. Maybe he's just trying to find his way around. But the use of sound, the cinematography is very interesting. That's at the start of the movie. I highly recommend this movie. If you're a little daunted by other Tarkovsky films, because you might find them hard to focus on because of the long takes and that it's kind of not easy to get into sometimes, I guess you could say, but unless you devote some time to it, this is the way to start, I think, because this is, after he made this film, he's made some other good films, but this film is kind of stands apart from the rest of his movies, and this particular film was made at a period of time when Soviet directors could make films sort of more. The censors were less. They were less strict on the artistic content and style. Khrushchev had come to power. Stalin had died from a stroke, and so there's a lot of freedom, or I don't know if freedom comparable to like freedom in America kind of freedom, but more relaxing of artistic honesty and style, and but anyways, even just from a standpoint of a good story, this is a great movie. So anyways, let's get to the next film. This is his second movie. It's regarded as one of the greatest Russian films of all time. Andrei Rublev, and he starts this. This is the start of his long takes. It says, immediately suppressed by the Soviets in 1966, Andrei Tarkovsky's epic masterpiece is a sweeping medieval tale of Russia's greatest icon painter, too experimental, too frightening, too violent, and too politically complicated to be released officially. Andrei Rublev existed only in shortened, censored versions until the Criterion Collection created this complete 205-minute director's cut special edition, now available for the first time on DVD. It's got a new English subtitles translating 40% more dialogue, screen-specific audio essay by Harvard film professor Vlada Petrick, rare film interviews with Andrei Tarkovsky with a video essay on the filmmaker's work by Professor Petrick, a timeline featuring the key events in Russian history, plus the lives and works of Andrei Rublev and Tarkovsky. So the commentary on this, it just covers a small portion of the film. It like jumps around. There's a few films I own that the commentary doesn't cover the whole film. The disc actually jumps around. Well, I don't know if it does in this one, but like some of my Scorsese ones, it will go like a certain part of the film, they'll jump to another part of the film. Anyways, you got this booklet. Well, not a booklet, more like a pamphlet. It has a very interesting starting with a horse. Well, actually, with a whole bunch of horses and a man riding like a hot air balloon. It's not exactly a hot air balloon, but it's like a balloon, and he's flying over a church and then over a lake. I have to give this more of a watch. because it's not easy to get into it. You got to focus, um, and but it's a good film. Next up, this is a film he made a little later on. I think his crew and cast might have got cancer from this because he died of cancer, I believe, later on in his life. He died in exile. I think in the 80s, maybe he died, or maybe I think it was the late 80s he died. Anyways, this is a science fiction movie. It's called Stalker. It says, visually unforgettable and possibly Tarkovsky's finest work, Philip French, The Guardian. So let me read this. One of Andrei Tarkovsky's, Solaris, The Sacrifice, most acclaimed films, Stalker is an unforgettable film experience that evokes the spiritual lucidity of Carl Dreyer and the unbridled imagination of Philip K. Dick. Since its release in 1979, Stalker has inspired filmmakers as diverse as David Lynch and Steven Spielberg and ensnared audiences in a labyrinth of striking imagery, revealing the familiar and the strange, the poetic and the disturbing, and the mythic and the mordant. In the near future, an unseen alien force has taken possession of an area of Russian wilderness that authorities have dubbed the Zone. The only thing known for sure about the region is that few who enter it ever return, led by a stalker, one of a small group of outlaws, able to safely navigate the Zone. A renegade scientist and a cynical, burnt-out writer penetrate the dangers outside in search of the power and transcendence rumored to exist inside. The stalker longs to undo a mysterious physical transformation the Zone has performed on his young daughter. The scientist will risk anything to see that reason triumphs over faith. The writer seeks a gem of inspiration that the crumbling and corrupt world beyond the Zone no longer provides. Together, these three men become desperate pilgrims, walking a desolate trail leading to one of the most enigmatic and tantalizing endings in the history of cinema. A haunting and honest meditation on the intersection of science, feeling, and faith, Stalker is both profoundly unsettling and deeply moving. And here's what some critics say. A masterpiece, not an easy film, but most certainly a great one. Jonathan Rosenbaum, Chicago Reader. Stalker is as devious as it is gorgeous. Jay Hoberman, Village Voice. In special features, you get video interviews, composer Eduard Artemiev. It's got a great score. I like the score a lot. Cameraman Alexander Kianeski. Set director Rashid Safulian. Excerpt from The Steamroller and the Violin, 1960, 5 minutes. Andrei Tarkovsky's diploma film at the Soviet Film School, Vijik. Memory, 1997, 5 minutes. Directed by Sergei Minook, a short film about Tarkovsky's home. Cast and crew biographies, filmographies, photo album. And anyways, and I believe this movie is based on a book. I think the author, I was thinking of Stanislaw Lem, he wrote Solaris, and that's another science fiction film that Tarkovsky made. But this particular movie, I think, is based on a book called Roadside Picnic. I don't remember the author's name. It's a science fiction book. I thought of reading it, maybe to shed some light on this particular film. I have watched this film. I haven't watched it in a while. This is just a catalog of Kino movies that came with the with this film. So, at any rate, I love the score of this film, and I gotta give this another viewing, probably more than one viewing. And same with Andrei Rublev. these are films that you have to really engage yourself with and focus and maybe some online reading, what people have to say, and maybe some books to read about it would help. At any rate, those are my Russian film directors. And next up, I think what do we got? Oh, I don't. Well, I don't know what we're doing next because I can't see the very end of the bookcase at the top. I know one of my Scorsese films is at the top. I might do my Scorsese next because that's on the next level. And I have a little Scorsese in another area. I think it's on the towers, but I'm going to do all the Scorsese together. And then I got I don't know if I'll do that right away or I'll do it later on. Well, it's not too later on. It's pretty soon. Even if I don't do Scorsese in the next video, I will do it pretty soon, probably within the next few videos. I've got the Indiana Jones box set to show, so stay tuned for all those. And of course, I've mentioned the other ones in the bookcase in previous videos. Anyways, I'm going on. And as I said before, if you like a video, but you don't have time to watch everything, just pick and choose, And I also have poetry, garage band music, my storyboard that I made Google Photos of my movie Cost of Love. It says Cost of Love #3. So you can take a look at that if you want. Anyways, and I have a film. I did a short film, Dirty Dog, which is for a filmmaking class. Based on if dogs could talk, that's what our subject was. So I chose if dogs could sing. I'm going on. Anyways, I hope you're enjoying this. Let me know what your thoughts are on all these things. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I appreciate all the views. And I'll see you soon.